Today I say goodbye to an old friend. I am retiring a piece of equipment that has been integral to my channel for a while now. When I first started back in July of 2018 making YouTube videos, this was the camera that I used. Just a silly little Logitech 1080p camera. One of the most frequent questions I get are from folks that just ask if they have any advice on starting a YouTube channel. And the best advice I always try to give is, well, a number of things, but one of them is just start with the equipment you have. Don't make a huge financial investment. Things like this are fine, and honestly, they're best for the long-term journey because I learned a whole lot about lighting and angles from having to make this work as well as possible and eke every bit of quality out of it. That went well for about 2 years, and then I finally decided to take the plunge. I wanted to do green screen recording, and I just wanted to have a higher picture quality. I had at that point already upgraded my microphone from a little conversation mic to a USB cardioid condenser, which was the in-between before I got this guy. But the camera, on August 5th, 2020, I upgraded to this guy. This is the Canon Rebel SL3, which, if you're in the UK, is the Canon EOS 250D. They give it different names when it comes to the United States. Must be they tackled that over at Ellis Island. Anyway, so this is what I've been using for my videos ever since. Sometimes I'll drift between this and a nifty 50 1.8 STM lens. But for the most part, I just stick with the kit lens. And it has served me very well. It has shown its limitations over the years, and I've worked around them, I think, to great effect. I'm proud of everything that I've managed to eke out of this. I've learned a whole lot about, way beyond the webcam stuff. I've learned about, shutter speed, ISO, all that stuff. Color profiles, white balancing, and everything. So this was its own educational journey, and it's done very well for the last over 4 years now. It's too early for math. It's literally not even 5 o'clock in the morning for me yet. Anyway, I love this camera. I never thought I'd actually upgrade it because this is one. Like the microphone here, the Electro Voice, I am pretty confident I will never upgrade that. I may get different microphones to take out in the field with me, but this, as far as me being at the desk, is the tippy top. And I thought that's where this camera was. But the limitations started really shining through when I made the channel transitions and I started making different video types. One of the biggest limitations that this camera has is a 30-minute record time for video. There's all sorts of different potential reasons for it. The most logical that I've heard is that it basically has to do with standards that when something is made to be for video, that it is taxed differently when it winds up coming overseas. And the fact that this does change its name depending on what country it's from, it does seem to take into account overseas shipping transitions and taxing from foreign company. So that seemed pretty plausible to me, that photography equipment and videography equipment is taxed differently. So this is a camera for photographs that happens to do video, and they set the limit on it to prevent it from doing from being a video camera, which is fine. Most of my videos were in the, definitely in the sub 30-minute range, certainly as far as the number of recordings that I would be doing in a continuous fashion. If I had a video that ran an hour and a half, well, that was probably 20, 25 different chunks of 10 or 15-minute recordings, then cut down. But I have stretched out beyond it now. That was probably the biggest limitation that has been more difficult to overcome, and that has been nowhere more apparent than in the couch reaction video types. That's something where I need to be continuously recording on 3 different cameras for up to 2.5 hours between the conversations that I have with my guest, the movies as they're playing, and then conclusion, and then cut down from there. So the solution that I had for this was to output the HDMI and plug it into a USB receiver on a laptop nearby and record the video output from this using OBS, which worked pretty well, but it has its own problems. There's bit rate limitations. It's more equipment to carry around, so taking it out in the field is very problematic. The entire time it was something that worked, but definitely felt like an unneeded complexity. So, I shopped around and I found a great resource website of just listing a shit ton of cameras from various makes and manufacturers and posting their video record limit times. Like, that's exactly what I need, because that's first and foremost what I'd be looking for. I kind of set out a criteria that I wanted nigh unlimited record time. I didn't want to have my hands shackled like I do with this guy, and I didn't want any less in the quality. I didn't want to go down in the capacity of megabytes per second, in the CMOS sensor, anything like that. So I wanted as good or better quality without a record limit. And I found that if I wanted to stick with Canon cameras, that put that criteria within the multiple thousands of dollars range for each camera. And that is just not doable. It's untenable for me. I can't reasonably afford that. So as much as I really did love this camera, and I have got Canon batteries and chargers and so forth, and I've got the lenses, I had to say goodbye to the Canon family. There was just no getting around it. So I was looking at Panasonic and their Lumix line. I was finding most of them had record limits, some didn't, and the ones that didn't, it was tough to find a balance between what was available in price and what was not of lower quality than what I already had. So again, it's just the entirety of the criteria. And then I went down the list and I found Sony. I will state that historically, I have been in a love-hate relationship with Sony. I loved their stuff when I was in my teens and early 20s. I was a big PlayStation guy, and I've just kind of fallen out of favor with them. I honestly fall out of favor with a lot of companies that go through such great lengths for proprietary stuff. Sony has been notorious for that. The fact that, everybody else was using SD cards or CF cards, and they were the only ones that had their own memory sticks. But, it's just like Apple for me. It's like, I don't like their proprietary nature. I don't like a lot of the business practices. I don't like some of the skeevy stuff, but man, I really can't deny the quality. Plus the whole Sony Vaio. I mean, if getting into PCs and so forth, the Sony Vaio line was a goddamn nightmare. So that was one where quality wasn't up to snuff. Anyway, I've fallen out of favor with Sony, so it wasn't even something I really considered until I did, and I have now upgraded the camera to this. I have gone from DSLR to mirrorless. It still has removable lens, so I can get E-mount lenses now. But I got the Sony ZV-E10 camera here, which has a 13-hour record limit. So functionally, that's unlimited. There's no way I'm going to be recording continuously for over 13 hours. And from what I understand, that 13-hour limit isn't a hard limit. It's just that's when they're basically saying, oh, the camera's probably going to heat up to the point where it'll shut itself down and cool off after 13 hours. I'm like, all right. I mean, even the memory card that I'm going to be putting in this bad boy being 512 gigs for the quality that I'm going to be eking out of it, it's not going to last me more than 4 or 5 hours. Anywho, so this was a situation where as soon as I got this in my hands and I started learning it and I started seeing what it could do, I took the plunge and bought a second one. I was so damned impressed with the Sony ZV-E10 and what it was able to do. And the 3-camera rig that I had, I've released one video. I've recorded 2 more now. I am editing and have 2 more videos of the 3-camera couch rig of reacting to films. And the way that worked was I had this one on me that was hooked up over HDMI to the laptop recording using OBS. I had my vlog camera propped up on the coffee table, taking the wide shot, recording me and the guest wide. Which this one does, like pretty decent quality. The hard part about this one is it runs off a battery exclusively, and it has a USB-C port, but it doesn't have a proper power input. So this has to be plugged into an AC adapter using USB-C and hope that the battery drain doesn't outrun what it winds up taking in. But so far it seems to have been pretty good in that regard. So like I've learned my lessons. At first I tried to plug it into a portable battery pack, and that was not able to pump out the power faster than it was able to drain. So I had to scramble mid-recording. That was the 1408 video. I had to scramble mid-recording and go find an actual AC adapter and find a way to get it over to the coffee table. And then the third camera, which is pointed at the guest, is my phone. Like, that's all I got. But that was why I decided to get the second camera. Is like, this one's serviceable enough, and it does good enough quality for the wide shot. But if I could get consistent quality video of 13-hour record limits on both me and the guest in our close-ups, that's where the gold's going to be. Plus, this is going to be nice for redundancy. So I think the thing that has impressed me the most is the quality. So I'm able with this one to record at 4K 24 frames per second, or 23.97 frames per second, at 100 megabyte quality. That's pretty significant. I think the picture of it looks great, and it is also, this is something that's actually pretty big for me, because I want a camera that's good for recording, and I also want a camera that's good for live streaming. And finding one that does both, not just both, but both simultaneously, was huge. I wasn't expecting that to work, but it works. So what I mean by that is I am currently recording the audio separately from my microphone. I am also recording directly on the camera right now. I have the red light coming on there, and I'm recording to the card that's inside the camera. I also simultaneously have the HDMI outputting to my desktop, and I'm recording this in OBS, audio and video. It's outputting clean, quality, 1080p HDMI video to OBS, which means I can get it working in a live stream while recording the raw picture. That's big. It's difficult for me to explain how big that is, but it allows me a whole lot of freedom in post-edit, especially if I'm doing a gaming thing where I have a whole bunch of shit on the screen, and if I want to do any kind of close-up with my mug, it had to be a situation where I had to take the itty-bitty frame that my face was in and blow it up because I didn't have any other camera reference. Now I do. Not just camera reference, I have 4K camera reference. Also, redundancy. I've learned just how easy it is for a recording to go squiffy on me. And the idea that now I have my audio recording in one separate thing here, I have my video recording there, and that's going to be my primary thing. But if for some reason those don't work and they get weird, I got my OBS recording. It's 1080p, but it still looks great. I'm looking at myself. And that's the third thing, is I now have a big monitor. Like, it's not just the little flappy screen on the side of the camera that I can see myself in, although that is primarily what I'm using for. But if I just want a good frame of reference to be able to see the entirety of the thing, I now have it on my 24-inch monitor, like, simultaneously. Plus, it's lighter, it's more compact. The fact that I can still get E-mount lenses for it, so I can still do some fun lens stuff. But honestly, the kit lens on this one is so much better than the kit lens that was on this one. With its, I mean, both of them have stabilization, but this one is just a cut above. It doesn't have the manual focus. So, okay, that's the biggest difference between the two. And that was the conclusion that I had to come to before pulling the trigger on the first one. Is this, not just for tax reasons, but having used it and really made it work and put it through its paces hard for the last 4+ years, I have come to the conclusion that this very much is a photography camera that happens to do video. Canon isn't lying to the tax code when they say that. This is a video camera. This is a camera that happens to take still photos but excels at video. Considering the type of media that I make, yeah, this is the one for me. So it is with a heavy heart that I retire my Canon. I was considering selling it to possibly afford a third Sony. But my good friend has recommended, and I'm probably going to follow his advice to hang on to it. I'm not huge on nostalgia, but this is something that is big. This was a big milestone in my YouTube career and what it's just meant to me personally. So, yeah, I think this is going in my personal museum. I still have the cardioid condenser mic that came before this one. I actually had two. When I bought it, I bought two because they were so damn cheap. They were like $30 USB mics off of Amazon, and man, I got a lot of quality out of those. But primarily, I only ever used one of them. The other one was because it was $30, and it was like, well, why not have a backup? Yeah, I never really got to use that one too much. Occasionally, in some videos, it was a little like a bit of a weird rig that I needed to. But so when I got this guy and started really putting it to use, I got a offer on the cardioid condenser, and I sold the twin, but the one that was in 99% of my videos I still have, and I'm not going to get rid of, and this is going to wind up on the shelf next to it. Legacy of the Canon Rebel EOS SL3. But we move onward and upward, forward into the future. 13-hour record limit in 4K. So I also got some other equipment that I'm pretty jazzed about for doing some more, definitely doing a lot more field recording. So I can go ahead and do a quick little show off of some of it, but I'll do a video kind of showing more. This is the gimbal that I got with a monitor, things like that. I'll do their own separate videos, but yeah, I just wanted to pay homage to my Canon and wish it a fond farewell as I put it out to pasture and let it roam free, go to stud. Mostly say thank you. You have served me well, and I couldn't have done it without you. Literally, I couldn't have. I mean, a lot of my channel blew up because of the Amityville video, and that required green screen, and that required way beyond what that webcam could do. So, I mean, a lot of the success that I found bouncing off of that video that bounced me right up into the monetization range was what this guy could do. Anyway, that's about it. Thank you so much for joining me. I just wanted to have a little vlog here and equipment behind the scenes, whatever. So I'll talk to y'all soon. Have a great day.